Welcome to this week's episode of Car Stars and Roll Bars, CSRB.Vegas. Make sure to tag us and share us and like us, all those good social media activities to help generate more buzz. Each week we have the pleasure of talking with really cool people on the planet that have something to do with cars. And today, we could do a whole show just on the bio for this guy. Hey, Rick, bring that fireball Tim Lawrence, if you would. And we've got if you Google one cool dude in the car culture in Wikipedia, Tim, I'm pretty sure your face comes up, man. You've been at this a while. So how you doing, brother?
I'm good. I'm very excited. Thanks to be here. I kind of feel like I'm in Vegas in spirit, but I'm in LA.
Absolutely. And usually these are evergreens, but we got to quickly touch base on Grand National. I think we kind of passed each other in the aisles filming stuff for each of our shows. It was so great to have Grand back, man.
It really is. And one thing you learn about a show like that for guys like you and I is that you got to be open to curveballs, so you can't go there with a plan, but ultimately within about 4.5 minutes, that plan will be obliterated and you're off and running.
Yeah, I was telling you, I said, so we have our little shot card, and I got my production guy with me. Well, we kind of wadded that up and threw it over his shoulder as soon as we walked through the doors of Building 4.
Yeah. I'm surprised I'm not walking around in my underwear by the time we're done.
I hear you. And again, I was joking in the intro, you've got this incredible bio. I think you've been involved in the design of over, 400 cars for different just movies and theatrical productions. So you got some history behind you as far as some of these like celebrity cars, for lack of a better phrase, right?
Well, it's not really me. It's my hand. I can't seem to get it to stop. It just keeps going. So I'm doing my best, but it's certainly a lot of fun. I've been blessed to be able to do a lot of great things in the film industry and in and out of that. But it just keeps going. So I'm sticking with it.
So how did you? Because all joking aside, you truly are a talent. You got street cred, big times 10. How did you get started? I mean, what kind of led to where you're at?
Well, I grew up in a Hollywood family. My parents were a writer-producer team, and
Right.
I had a lot of opportunities to watch concept to completion, and that was important to me. So the idea, I loved generating ideas. I would sit down with my folks at the table, and we would do everything from read Shakespeare to invent things, and a very creative family. So it was kind of a neat experience to be able to explore the idea that you could create something in your mind and then you could put it together and see it physically in the world. And the idea of doing that consistently as for a living.
Hold on.
Example.
There you go. There she goes.
Yeah. So a car like that, obviously thematics was a very big deal, or continues to be a big deal in my life. I worked at Walt Disney Imagineering, and the theme is everything. So, if you're putting together a tiki party home, then obviously, Christmas hats don't fit in that. So when you're doing a car like the cars for Flintstones, the design theme, the design language is not too dissimilar than designing a Ferrari. There are certain things that Ferraris are, and there's certain things that they're not. And there's certain things that Stone Age cars are, and there's certain things that they aren't.
Wow.
So I just followed through with that, and now I get to do these coloring books and a lot of the great stuff that we're doing, as well as film, and it just continues to roll on.
You're talking about films. You've been involved in Batman and Jurassic Park. You've got quite a few of these shows under your big time movies under your belt. So what was it like on Jurassic Park? That must have been amazing. Or Batman, because that's a great hero. That headshot of you in front of the more modern Batman, that looks really cool, dude.
Well, the thing about it is, when you're working on a film, you don't really know whether. I mean, I've done a lot of films where nothing really happened. The movie doesn't come out, and so when you're working on a film, Batman or Jurassic Park, Jurassic Park was the very first one, so nobody knew whether it was going to be a hit or anything. It's just another job. So, when I was designing the entrance gate for Jurassic Park, I was doing storyboarding, I was designing vehicles, a lot of different things. But it's just kind of what I did. It's always cool afterward, you can look back on Jurassic Park and see an iconic film like that and say that you got a chance to be a part of it. I'm very grateful for all those things. But, when you're in the throes of it, I've worked on a lot of pieces of crap over the years as well. It's kind of like, I'm not comparing myself in any way to this, but for Babe Ruth, he struck out more than he hit the ball. So nobody really talks about the strikeouts, but it's nice to have some successes in an area that you love, and I think that anyone would appreciate that.
Yeah, Rick, if you can pull up, because lots of things we want to talk about. We're probably going to have to bring you back to the show, to be candid. You also, I think one of the things you're very proud of, you're the curator of the Murphy Museum. Did I get that right, sir?
I'm actually the president of the museum now.
Okay, excellent.
The Murphy Auto Museum is in Oxnard. We have about 40 cars in the collection. And we have cars at coffee every third Sunday of the month, a lot of Americana, some English cars. My passion is American muscle and classics. My partner is David Neal, who you saw standing there, the tallest man in the room. And he loves vintage trailers. So
cool.
We have a lot of eclectic stuff and station wagons and just, a lot of fun things. I'm still playing with cars like Hot Wheels. They're just a little bit bigger. That's all.
Yeah, they're just a little bit bigger. And some of these antique trailers, it is amazing what they can do with them now, man. It's like, wow.
Yeah. Well, the one thing we do have that's really cool is we have the world's oldest vintage trailer. And in fact, you wouldn't call it a vintage trailer when it was built. But in 1920, I think 27, right before the Great Crash, the Great Depression, a man wanted to build something that he could take across the country with him, with his family. Good. And it's called a Holt. And it's a 1927 Holt. He finished building it, but the Depression hit, so they never took it anywhere. He put it in storage, and it stayed in storage for almost 70 years, where we found it in a collection in Northern California and finally brought it down. It's covered in canvas leather. It looks all 20s wood. And then it looks brand new because it was never used.
Yeah, wow.
And the back of the trailer even has an open balcony like a caboose. It's really
cool. So again, kind of talking about something you've been playing with over the years. I think for a while you were a host on the Speed Channel as well.
Yeah, we did. We did the Speed's largest viewed show, which was a show called Street Tuner Challenge. Mm-hmm. We did the third season of that. And the goal was to pit three builders together and see who could win out of everything from, I think, design, performance. I think there was one other sound category that was sponsored by Sony. Perfect. And I just didn't want to, I wasn't interested in building a tuner or building, just a Japanese car or something that was just a street racer. So we decided to take a Mini Cooper that was brought in by Mini USA,
right?
And we turned it into a movie car to where it had guns all over it, and it had a Sony sound system that was built into an RC car in the back, so you could pull the whole RC. Do donuts, go 80 miles an hour, and it was a sound system. And that car is currently in Oxnard. Next month at the California Power Sports Expo, we're going to be bringing that car back on display.
Really?
So we'll have that car and about maybe 10 cars on display at that show.
Very cool. Hey, Rick, I think you've got some examples, some of these amazing renderings, like kind of the initial concept designs that's come out of the magic hands of Fireball. Can we kind of pull those up? I think we've got a series of them we can point to. See if Rick can find those real quick. So give us a little history on this one from Monster Garage. Wow.
Yeah. That was kind of mid-season, so that was a car that we hired a bunch of guys from Cessna. In a week, we took a Panos Esperante and made it look like the Red Baron, and actually he flew it. And it was the only car, he'll tell you, it was the only car that ever scared the crap out of him because he flew it, and we talked constantly for an entire week about how to get it into the air, but no one ever asked how do you land it. So when he was up there and he was flying. He was on the, he was literally flying by the seat of his pants, and he suddenly thought, "Wait, how do I get this down now?"
Because otherwise you end up, with a glide ratio of about Hamilton safe.
Oh yeah, it was. So yeah, it really made him nervous.
So just for our viewers, this actually flew.
Oh yeah, yeah, and he would have flown it all over the place, but he's not a pilot.
Yeah.
he had a week worth of training. That was it. So it got off the ground for a brief period and to prove that it had lift. Wow. And of course it did, because the guys from Cessna, caused that to occur. But my job was to design to create the design language for the car.
Yeah. Wow, just amazing. Hey, Rick, pull up another one, because there's that one especially cool we got to talk about. I think it's like a really muscled out version of a Knight Rider. We'll see which one Rick's going to be able to pull up next. Hold down there. There it is.
Yeah.
That just looks uber cool.
Yeah, so they had a new Knight Rider series that came out. I think it was in the 90s. And the goal was to reinvent what Knight Rider was from the 80s. They chose a Mustang. I guess Lightning Ford was the sponsor at the time, but not really well received, because the original car was a Pontiac, and they decided to go this route. But my job was to design the car so that it had regular mode and then attack mode. Right. The series didn't do well, and you can just watch the pilot and you can understand why it didn't do well, because it was missing David Hasselhoff, and it was missing the Pontiac, and it was, it just really didn't fit together well. But in our business, it's very common to say the movie may be crap, but the cars are always cool.
The cars are always cool. Yeah, I think one of the original Knight Riders resides here in Las Vegas, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I think so.
So there's a little bit of traction around that. So what's your family think about all this whirling dervish that is Fireball Tim Lawrence, man?
Yeah, I guess, the thing is, my family are a bunch of Hollywood writers, and my dad has a tremendous history going all the way back to Twilight Zone and Outer Limits. He wrote 9 episodes of Hawaii Five-0, a bunch of episodes of Bonanza, a lot of stuff. So, creativity abounds, but I don't know where I got my love of cars, because no one in my family could care less about a car other than driving from A to Z. But for some reason, when I was a kid, my mom was very aware. My mom was very sharp, and she understood that if you if you expressed a love for something, she would feed that. And, when I was in Montessori or in kindergarten, she knew that I loved cars. So, every other day out of school, we'd walk across the street to a general store, and she'd buy me a Matchbox or a Hot Wheels or something like that. And I got, into collecting those types of die casts to where it hasn't really changed. And now, I'm in cahoots with a group out of the UK who runs Superfly Autos magazine, a big magazine in the UK. We publish a magazine called Diecast Heroes, which is all celebrating people who customize diecast, whether it's Hot Wheels or Matchbox, Corgi or D. And I loved cars. I couldn't drive at the time, obviously, when I was like, 8 or 4 or something. Yeah. But I dreamed of the day when I could. And for me, it's not even so much about the car as it is about this tool that takes us on an incredible journey. And how we take that journey comes down to our superpower, which I believe is the power of choice. Cool. And we can choose to have a good life, or we can choose to struggle. And I think it's important that we make the right choices in life. We can choose to have things in our lives that are a blessing. And God bless, brother. I appreciate you and all these amazing enthusiasts that love cars, and it refeeds me. So we get a chance to really enjoy ourselves.
Well, talking about Hot Wheels, we'll have Carson Lev on before too long. And back in the day, he was kind of the Hot Wheels guys. I got to actually sit and twin mill with him when he fired it up.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't mean to brag, but Larry Wood is a very good friend of mine, and he designed all those cars. Yes. My teacher in school was the guy that designed the split window vet, Harry Bradley. Yep. And one of my good friends was Darren Guilford, and his dad was Ira Guilford. So those 3 guys really started Hot Wheels. Wow. I'm very, I've known Carson for a long time, and I went to school with Chip. So, the guys that inspired me were guys like Sid Mead, and, it's just a lot of great designers that, although they inspired me and I got to look up to them, a lot of them are very good friends of mine now, like Mark Sterenberger. Yeah. Frank Stephenson out of the UK designed Ferraris and Maseratis. Yeah. One of the greatest car designers alive. So as well as Gene Winfield, and I was running around George Barris's shop as a kid.
Oh, that's,
So
yeah,
a
it's just
lot
amazing.
of fun stuff.
Yeah, I know. I was part of the crew, and we went to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So we fly halfway around the world. We land. We go to the event center. The very first person I ran into was Carson Webb. He goes, "Hi, Mike."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, of course I'm going to run into." Tell me a little. I got to look at my notes here. Tell me a little bit about your Muscles and Mojo Cars and Coffee event. I kind of like the name of it. So obviously, it's kind of like a gathering of cars, I would bet.
It is, and there's a lot of cars and coffees that happen across the country, and people have certain expectations about what that means. And obviously, you're going to go to these events for a couple hours, and cars and coffees have exploded because I think that people would rather go and spend a couple hours looking at cool cars than necessarily going to an all-day show, and that could take a lot of time. But with Mojo, it's certainly not my first show. We had a show called Wheels and Waves, which was in Malibu here. It was really celebrity driven. We had Keanu Reeves come a lot. We had Kevin Hart. A lot of interesting guys that are great actors, but they love cars in the same way that we do. And the show shut down because of COVID, and we were trying to figure out how do we reinvent this. And we had our museum up in Oxnard, so the rules were different up there. So we started a new show called Muscles in Mojo.
Cool.
And if anybody wants to start a Cars and Coffee, I think it's important to understand that the expectations that the best that you would experience at Cars and Coffee is really cool cars, amazing people, coffee, and donuts. And that's kind of the thing.
Yeah.
But I think that if you're going to start a show,
looks like he froze just a minute. We'll see if we can get him back. We do love the technology we have in the internet world. Hey, brother. Hey. Yeah, there we go. We can send a man to the moon and bring him back, but this stuff doesn't work all the time.
No, yeah. But, Cars and Coffees are great. We really enjoy it. And it's every third Sunday of the month at the museum in the 805 area code. And we get some incredible cars that are really more art cars. For me, there's two kinds of Cars and Coffees.
Okay.
There is a money show where a lot of the guys will go to a Lamborghini dealership and then they'll drive that car directly to a show.
Yeah.
And then there's the art show, which are guys that will buy something for $1,500 and they'll dump $60,000 into it over 5 years and create a piece of art.
And it becomes theirs. Rick's got a series of. We've got some of the covers of your coloring books. Rick, can you bring up? There we go. There's and it happens to be Gene Winfield's. Go figure. So can you give us a little insight? What's going on in these color books? How can people get a hold of them? And what led up to the formation? Because I think you have a lot of people interested in these coloring books.
Well, they're doing well. We have about 52 books now. They're all available primarily on Amazon. If you just type in Fireball Coloring Books, you'll get a lot of them.
Sweet.
I just felt that there was a time at which we started this a few years ago. That's Magnus Walker. A few years ago, and I got a number of people saying that nobody cared about coloring books. It's just not something that people wanted. And I think part of what made me really want to do it was not only that statement, but I went out and I looked for some coloring books and I couldn't find anything that I liked at all, to give to my granddaughter. So I just started creating these books, and this one, Tony is a very good friend of mine, and we decided, hey, we could do a partnership book that can tell the story of your life and some of the things that you experienced on Leave It to Beaver and as a director. That really set a trend. So the majority of our books just launched a book with Mike Satterfield of the Gentleman Racer. We just finished doing a book for the California Power Sports Expo and LA Comic Con, and we are fully booked through end of 2023. We've been doing custom mics, and he has about 50 million people that follow him. So
beautiful.
I think the coloring books are they're a low price point, high usage value item. Exactly. It's a great gift for kids. They're $10, and it focuses on what we're passionate about. I would do a coloring book of the car that's behind you, but I have to get out my rough pencils.
Exactly. And it's ironic. I married my best friend. We've been together over 30 years. I married up, by the way. Thank God. Thank God for Mary Elizabeth. And she likes different coloring books. And just for her, it's just a nice little break, right? And she moves some colors. And I mentioned, I says, Fireball has coloring books. And she went, coloring books? So, yeah, you may have picked up a new follower for this, Haas. I'm just saying.
Well, the biggest thing about a coloring book is that it helps you to maintain a certain mindset. The creative process, whether you're building a car, whether you're
Right.
designing a car, you're coloring, you're in the present moment, and where creativity exists most is in that present moment. So if you're coloring, you're not thinking about the things that you're worried about in your life. It helps to boost that creativity. It helps to lift your spirits. For a lot of people that are depressed, a lot of doctors recommend coloring because it's very therapeutic. So I just think that the usage value above and beyond coloring is really, it helps people to stay present and to appreciate their lives and to be grateful for what they have.
That's great insight. Yeah, it's just about the way Mary talks about it. It's just, relaxing, and you can kind of disconnect from the craziness. So what's some of the favorite feedback from your coloring book artists, fledgling artists? I'm not sure the right title for them, but the people have been accessing your color books. What do they think of?
I don't think I've ever gotten a negative comment. I'm very
Good,
blessed to have that. But
good.
the neat thing is to work with a celebrity like Magnus or Tony,
Yeah,
and they just get excited like a little kid that they're going to have. It's like everybody wants their own coloring book. It's just something that feels good for people, and as long as it has a large museum quality feel to it, that it's not a
sure.
cheap, crappy book you find at a local drugstore, but it's
Right.
something that is also hyper specific. So I get a tremendous amount of requests to do certain books, like Volkswagen Bugs or buses
Right.
or Mopar. It's just endless. There's our goal is right now we have 51 books. Our goal is 500, and that's the legacy that I'm going to be building
My
for my
goodness.
granddaughter.
Well, needless to say, sign me up when you do one on wing cars, right? Between the Superbirds and Daytona. I'm a fan of the Superbird, as you know. So, yeah, I'll buy
Yeah.
two, right? I'll frame one and then I'll play with the other one. So,
Well, we did one with Dennis Gage also, and
yeah.
he was very excited because it was all oddballs,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's kind of an oddball. So
Exactly.
it's opportunity abounds. So I'm looking forward to any time someone reaches out, and I think that's probably why we're booked. But
Sure.
as you know, in this kind of world, the easy part is actually creating the book. The hard part is the marketing, which goes
Oh,
on
yes.
forever. It's a
Yes.
marathon, you
No,
know. But
it never stops. So
yeah.
where do you see this, your whole publishing enterprise, all these kind of connected together? Where do you see it in about 5 years?
Well, considering we've done 50 books in the last 3 years or so. In the next five, obviously, we'll make some heavy progress. But we
Cool.
have a few other very large things in the works, and
Excellent.
books. Working towards 500 books is obviously that's a lot of work. But as in most things, if you have something that's difficult to do, the best thing to do is to bite off chunks that are manageable, right?
Perfect. Right.
So
Yep.
we do one new book a month, and sometimes we keep the pace, and sometimes I got to take a break and go to
Yeah.
Hawaii or something. Uh, I don't think it's going to change, but we also peripherally do a lot of other things.
Sure.
I'm involved in the city council here in Malibu
God bless
with
you.
our museum. We have a foundation called Halos and Heroes that benefits Gold Star kids. We're in
Excellent.
television. We do a lot of
Yep.
shows, a lot of live shows, and we have a number of other things that are in the works as far as film media. So
Beautiful.
it's great. We're having a great time, and my wife's into it, and that's always a
Cool.
blessing, as you know.
Oh yeah, man.
But
It
yeah, it's a blast.
makes it a lot easier. So for people that view our show, because we got a little people we reach out to, if there's someone kind of early in their career and says, I want to be the next Fireball, or I want to do my own coloring book series, or whatever the list is, would you have any thoughts for them on just what's two or three things they really need to keep an eye on to kind of keep them aimed the right direction?
Lots of people talk about following your passion. That's kind of a misnomer. I mean, everyone wants to do that, but I think it's important that the the evolution of that is that you want to follow your passion, but you want to find a way to give that value to the people.
Cool.
So, whatever it is that you do, instead of looking at your life as getting something, I want to get a new car, I want to get a new house, I want to get this, get that. If you can look at your life as giving, is that if you're something that you can do that creates value for people, then you're going to create a market no matter what it is. I don't care if you're in macrame or collecting die cast or making YouTube videos or whatever it is. Following your passion is the gateway,
Very cool.
but what you have to really understand, what is the value that you're giving people. And we have a Facebook live show that I do from our fan page every weekday morning, and we keep people up to date on some of the things that are going on with the books. But the real point of that show is to try to help people be creatively powerful by giving them tips that help them to understand that they're the driver's seat. Is that we're creation beings, and if you can identify your passion. It's like I generally ask people, if I do a seminar or something, I'll ask them, what do you do on the weekends? Because everybody does what they love on the weekends. You and I are fortunate to do it during the week too.
That's right.
But if you can find something that you love on the weekends, and maybe it's like going to pubs and sampling beer, that's a YouTube channel. You like eating chocolate cake or eating burgers, that's a YouTube channel. It's limitless, especially in these COVID times.
Sure.
In many cases, people complain a lot about the state of the world, they complain about the government and everything else. But I look at it that when stocks are down, that's when you buy. And it's important that the way you look at things is far more important than what's happening in general. So forgive me, my phone is deep. But find your passion and follow through with it, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Take it from doing.
And I really like your insight too about making sure you kind of provide value to others. Couple quick questions before we get out of here, and these are going to be tough. I apologize in advance. What's one of your favorite automotive memories?
Wow,
I warned you. Sorry.
Wow, that's like, explain to me why the sky is blue. I guess that probably my number one favorite automotive memory is that when I grew up, we had a huge olive tree in our front yard, and it had this incredible complex root system.
Right.
And I would go out there with all my Hot Wheels, and I would clean all the leaves out, and I would create roadways.
Cool.
And it was my time. I would go out and I'd be there for an hour or 2 hours by myself, and I would lose myself in that. And every car that I had to drive from one location to the next. And I wanted to see how each one of those cars, based on its design language, how it would approach that.
Wow. And
I didn't even know that I was doing that. So, that was probably one of my first memories.
Wow. That is excellent.
Getting into a station wagon and going to the begonia farm with my family, that was an exciting time. I got to feed ducks, do all kinds of stuff. So I guess you would expect getting in a dragster and things like that. But for me, it's really about the journey of what cars bring that gets me excited. Yeah.
Yes. Well, how do people get a hold of you, and how do they find out? Where can they get your coloring book? I want to remind everybody.
All the coloring books are available on Amazon as well as Etsy. There's a store called the Fireball Store. We also do trading cards. We have cards with Tony Dow and custom things like that.
Cool.
The website is fireballtim.com. Of course, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. But primarily our show on Facebook, on the fan page, Fireball Tim Lawrence on Facebook. It's a great way just to kind of stay up to date as to what's coming, and I can interact with people, which is really, really fun.
Absolutely. Before we let you get out of here, I told you I had two tough questions. Here's your last one. Take a deep breath.
Okay.
What's your favorite car?
The one with four wheels. Easy, man. Come on.
That's excellent. Well, Fireball, we can't thank you enough for being on the show. Folks, do me a favor. Go find those coloring books. You're going to help you kind of get your groove on a little bit. You can check out his museum, support the charity work he's doing. Anybody supporting charity, especially for kids, it's high on my list. And Tim, thank you very much for being on the show, man. Look forward to hooking up at the next big one.
You bet. You bet. Thanks for your time.
You betcha, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this episode of Car Stars and Roll Bars. Make sure to like us and share us and give all the feedback on social media. Until next time, enjoy the ride. Bye-bye for now.